What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back again with another panel show. We've got the boys from Last Word on Spurs. Who better to go through Saturday's thrashing of Man City at the Etihad than the boys from Last Word on Spurs? How are we doing, Ricky? First of all, nice to see you. Had a good weekend?
Yeah, mate, listen, always a great weekend when Spurs win. I said it to you off air and just coming on here. We're like a bunch of celebrations. You're not sure what we're going to pull out, you know? You pull out a Galaxy camera if I can get my words out, or it could be a bounty. So, look, great win the weekend. Great performance. Great team display. Great changes from Ange Postecoglou. You know, again, many critical of the fact he doesn't tweak, he doesn't change, he doesn't make alterations. I think that performance really showed what Spurs are capable of. And I think, again, it's just that word consistency, isn't it? If we can just get some consistency into our game, what an exciting side we could be. And can I just say one thing before you bring Macca in? Just so viewers and listeners are aware on Last Word on Spurs, Macca isn't dodging me. He's very busy at the moment. He's, bless him, working 24/7 around the clock. So I'm seeing more of Macca on here than I have on Last Word on Spurs at the moment, which isn't his fault. But we're going to make things work. I'm looking forward to seeing him back on soon. And you know how much I love him. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Well, I've just heard Macca hasn't slept since Saturday. That's why you haven't seen him. But Macca, how have you been? How's your weekend?
You can tell by my eyes, Sim, right? You can tell by my eyes. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me back on. This is a W, not just for us winning against Man City, but also for Last Word on Spurs, again, being winners in the Football Content Awards, but also as well a W because I took my 3 girls to Wicked. The Premier movie Premier Wicked, whilst Man City was on, and people were atting me on Twitter. What? You didn't watch the game live? What's going on? It was a mad time. I think at the time when Brennan Johnson was banging in his Tottenham's fourth, I was watching Elsevier and Glenda belt out defying gravity on the. So craziness. But I got home. I watched the game back. I've actually watched the game back 3 times, which is absolutely insane because it's just brilliant to watch it. You watch it on Match of the Day, you watch the highlights, and then you watch the full game back as well. So as we were just chatting in the green room, weren't we, Sim? Absolutely insane performance from Tottenham Hotspur. And it is insane. I called it the crazy train way back when, didn't I, when we was doing the Love Sport shows, Ricky? We are on the crazy train, and that sums Tottenham Hotspur up. You know, you lose to Ipswich, and everyone's down in the dumps. I mean, it hit me as well. How can you lose to Ipswich at home? And then you just go and literally destroy, I'm going to use that word, destroy Man City at their place. Couldn't make it up, only Tottenham, right, Tim?
Yeah, look, that's Tottenham all over, isn't it? And that's exactly what we were saying before the international break. It's classic Tottenham to, you know, after we lost to Ipswich, we're all down in the dumps. And we just know it's always classic Tottenham to lose that game and then going to the Etihad and winning. But I think it's the manner of the win, 4-0. We'll get into, you know, there's a debate, not a debate, but, you know, discussion around whether people think it's our best ever Premier League win. I think there's probably a good case for it. But look, I want to start with you, Rick, because we sat here before a couple of weeks ago. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. Don't worry, I'm going to be gentle. I'm being gentle, but I'm just saying we sat here a week ago and we were talking about where the club's going, the direction. Obviously, you know, it's only one win and we still need to show that consistency. But how do you feel now after that win against Man City? Do you feel like, in terms of the direction the club is going and where this team is going, is that more evident after that game, or are there still major questions in your mind about it?
Can you ask me after Fulham?
I will ask you after Fulham.
The crazy thing is, I have to say, you know, I'll make you laugh. I mean, the thing is this team has got the biggest gap between their ceiling and floor.
Yeah,
I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, it's absolutely insane how you can be so good, you know, away at City, away at United, at home to Villa, you know, smashing West Ham, smashing Everton. And then we have some of the performances like the away games at Palace, Brighton for 20 minutes. And, of course, that game against Ipswich at home, which I hope is going to be a one-off. It's really hard to answer that question, Sim. Look, I'm not one, as you probably know, I'd like to think, you know, don't get too carried away when we win. Don't get too carried away when we lose. It is a process.
Okay, Rick. Let me reframe the question. Is this a turning point, but let me ask: was that game evidence of a team heading in the right direction for you, or do you still need to see more evidence of that? That's the question.
I mean, look, we've gone away to Man City, the champions of the Premier League. Look, forget their current form they're in. We've absolutely blitzed them. And I think, everything in the build up to that game, really, with the likes of Pep signing a new deal, Rodri being presented behind, obviously I say behind, but on the pitch, it had the makings of really being a real concerning game going into it. And you look at the fact Spurs had no Bentancur, they had no Mickey van der Ven, they had no Christian Romero. You're going in there with no disrespect, with our not favoured, or you might say they are favoured now, centre-back pairing in Dragic and Davis. So the reality is that I think going into the game, there are a lot of things that you could say were working against Tottenham, to that degree of injuries, to the degree of Pep signing a new deal, and again, Rodri being presented on the pitch. So really, I think many, if they're going to be honest, will probably go into the game thinking this could be a hiding. But to go and put in that display, that performance, and totally really, apart from the opening 10 minutes, dominate Man City. I mean, there's certain things about the way we win there. And I made this point just so there is no narratives or no agendas with me. I think that's probably the most convincing win I've ever seen in my lifetime against City. And people know how much I love the time at the Maurizio Pochettino. Of course, we've beaten them with Nuno, beaten them with Conte, beaten them, of course, with Mourinho as well. The way in which Tottenham took the game to City, and what impressed me most, can I just say, is that at half-time, going in 2-0, don't tell me there wouldn't have been those players in the dressing room with Brighton in the back of their mind thinking, we have been here before. But what I loved about the way Ange approached that second half was it was relentless in terms of go and kill the game. That's exactly what Tottenham did. When Porro scored and then Johnson followed up, I mean, that was a win well worthy, in you saying, Sim, we'll come on to it. Was that the best win of the Premier League era for Tottenham? In the way in which they went about their display was phenomenal. But I will again bring it back to the point, just to bring some perspective here, that win shows what this Tottenham team is capable of. Now we have to see the element of consistency now week upon week, because it's all very well going and doing this, which is a great win, but if we go and lose to Fulham at the weekend, what's it been for? I want the wins against City, against Villa, against United to really count for something this season. That's what's the most important thing for me. I want these wins to count for something, and they're only going to count for something if we can really now go on a run, find that consistency. I think under Radge, we've only recorded back-to-back wins, I believe only 3 times under his tenureship so far, which I'm sure himself would say that's not good enough. So we have to, I think, use that result to galvanise the team, galvanise the dressing room, galvanise the squad, for everybody to now believe we've got a very talented group of players here. We've got a talented manager that's gone away from home and done that to Pep Guardiola. We now need to see this being ironed out consistently week upon week.
Maka, what do you think about that question? Obviously, we have had our inconsistencies this season. Obviously, we've been on this show before suggesting that the underlying numbers are better than what the results have suggested. And, we should have probably gotten more results than we did. But there's no denying performances like the second half against Brighton, Palace and Ipswich, have been terrible. And that has shown that there's maybe still a mentality issue at this team. But for you, winning in the manner that we did on the weekend, is that clear evidence for you that this is a team going in the right direction and going somewhere? Or if we don't back it up in the next few weeks, is it still a team that has got a lot of question marks about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an excellent question. I think, there's some really good reference points that we can use history for, and also, what predictions moving forward. I think in everybody's or most managers' second seasons, you expect to be better than the first season. And I think we've seen that. And I think that we've seen in Ange's second season versus his first season, he got a lot of criticism in his first season on our show and on your show and the rest of the content providers as well. In the stands as well, because of his inflexibility or his ability seemingly not to want to change. But again, I was very, very consistent on last one on Spurs and on here as well with yourself, Sim and Ben, around he won't change because he has to embed that belief system into the players. And it happens a lot. It happens with Pep, it happens with Klopp, it happens with Arteta. But people wasn't ready to, it can't be because Ange can't do that type stuff. In the second season, we've seen some massive improvements in all the statistics, the underlying stats, as you just said, Sim. But some of the results haven't been our way, and that is infuriating. But again, as I just said, the crazy train situation, you're up and down. It is a crazy train. History tells us that there is a belief or a lack of a belief element in Tottenham, in the club, in the culture, in the fans, in the players. That we're plucky little Tottenham, and we have a good couple of good results, and then we have a couple of bad results, and that's just the way we are. But when you look at the reference point that every time I'm on with Rick, I talk about Poch and he talks about Poch. When you look at Poch's second season, you know, in this moment in time, we're 2 points behind where Poch was in his second season after 12 games. And we'd already had a 1-1 draw with Leicester, a 0-0 with Everton, a 2-2 with Swansea, a 2-2 with Stoke. So when you look at Stoke and you look at Swansea and you look at Everton, it's the same. And what the point I'm making is it's not a Tottenham thing. This is a second season thing. It's the manager is now starting to try change. And we didn't really get a massive level of consistency in Poch's second season until match day 15, 16, 17 or so. And that's starting to come. And even then, we still lost to Newcastle at home. Now, Newcastle losing to Newcastle today is very different to losing Newcastle 8 years ago because they were shit. Excuse my language. Sorry, they were shocking. So, you know, that's probably as bad as losing.
They got relegated that year. Yeah.
Was that? Yeah, probably. No, actually, that's Sissoko, didn't they? Who scored what? They beat us 5 on the last day.
Exactly. Yeah, they got out, but they're already relegated. I remember. Yeah.
Oh, they got relegated. Yeah, they did. Yeah. Exactly. Well, there you go. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so they did get relegated. So, but we had some good results along the way, like a 1-1 at the Emirates, and you know, a 0-0 with Chelsea. You know, and again, the history tells us that you know we smashed West Ham 4-1 at home. Then we drew 0-0 with Chelsea, thinking, here we go. And then guess what? We drew 1-1 with West Brom. So again, people forget that is the reality because I'm showing you statistics from the Blue Book because, of course, wherever I go, the Blue Book is here. But statistics from the Blue Book and actually showing you that this is a progression thing. So is it a turning of the corner? I don't think there is a corner to turn. You know, when you're on the crazy train of Tottenham Hotspur, there's no corners. There's bends and there's ups and there's downs. But there's no corners. So I don't think it's a corner turn. But what I think is it's another feather in the hat of the belief system, which is so important, in my opinion, to be successful, not only with the players and the manager and the staff, probably more so with the fans. Can we get behind this team? Can we get behind these players? Because look, make no bones about it, and no one needs me to tell you this. There will be a terrible result around the bend. There will be another one that makes us dip, and it might be a loss to Bournemouth. And everyone will go, oh, we should be beating Bournemouth. They're a joke, but Bournemouth are a really good side. So you can see the Premier League table today. Everyone's bunched up, one win away from third or one win away from 14th. So that shows that it's quite open. So there's going to be more bumps along the road. But I think what Spurs need to do in order to be able to turn that proverbial corner or get around that train track bend is to stop losing in certain situations that, against the Palaces and the Ipswiches and whatever. And we, Dr. Tottenham coming out. There's no draws. I think we've had one draw, have we? Which was against Leicester.
One draw, opening day, yeah.
Right, and when you look at Poch's second season, again, just as a reference point, his second season, along the project, he had loads of draws, along that way. So it was almost like if we can't win the game, don't lose it. And I know that was a Conte thing. So look, would a draw against Ipswich have made any difference to my mood personally? I was in the stadium. No, I was really, really. I don't want to say down because that sounds ridiculous, but I was really annoyed, really annoyed and disappointed with our performance. But it seems like we're getting up for these big games and we're not getting up for the smaller games, and that is a mentality and that is a problem. And Tim, sorry to waffle on for so long, and Rick, but I just want to point you back to a comment that I made on this very show a few weeks ago about Decky's comments. Now, Decky come out and said, and Decky's been amazing, right? Do not get me wrong, he's been amazing. Yeah. But he come out, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, and one of his comments was when we beat Man City in the Carabao Cup, he come out and said, with City, it's personal. I've been planning this for weeks. This is before the Palace game and all sorts of stuff. And I knew we were going to play well, and I knew we were going to win, right? Now, that for me, I flagged it on this very show as a concern because he should be thinking like that for every single game.
Jason said the same thing on Sunday.
Did he? Well, this is the thing.
Exact same thing.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, But he said that, but he also says, and he's been quoted, I think, after that City game, in the cup game, and in this game, after this game, he said, he was asked about our up and down form, and he said it's a mentality issue. It's a training ground issue. He said, and you can't just be champion one day. You have to, if you want to be champion, you have to be champion every day. And it's not even every game; it's every training session. You have to be a champion. You have to, and you have to have that mentality going to every game. So as much as he did say that, but he also said these quotes as well, which shows that, to me anyway, that he gets that that's what it needs. That's what you need to be at the very top.
Yeah, and I think, and that's fair, and I think I suppose that encapsulates where we are right now as a team, as a project, as a maneuver. Because it's not until you start putting in and start, because there's no doubt if we put in what we just did to City against Palace and Ipswich, we'd probably win 9-0 or something ridiculous. That is the reality. So to your point, Rick, we have the ability. There's no doubt. No.
It's proven. We've got done it.
Got the ability. No one can tell me now that we haven't got it. We've just absolutely ruined City at their place. But again, Spurs have this. I mean, we're definitely their bogey team. I'm just looking at the Poch results in year 2. I think it was game 5 or game 6 or whatever. We smashed them 4-1 at home, Man City. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. We are their bogey team, aren't we? To a certain degree, which is lovely to have to be the bogey team against the champions. But I just think that there is definite signs of, look, I've said it before, we've all said it before, patience and Tottenham don't come together, because we've been waiting for this board to deliver us something decent for 25 years. And that's the reality. And they just don't. And it's 2 short FC, 1 short FC. That even going into this January period transfer window, we're looking at, we're thinking there's no Odegaard, there's no Timo Werner. We've got no Bentancur now. Van de Ven didn't get a replacement, although some would say Ben Davis was absolutely outstanding at the weekend. No natural replacement. So you look at this, it always feels like you're on the cusp of something that might not happen. However, we are still early in this Ange project, and that means I'm looking at it very, very positively, because we're only 18 months in, and if we're going to do that to City 18 months in, what can we do in the next year, 2 years?
Exactly. And for me, I think I didn't need this game for me to show me that this is a team that I think is heading in the right direction anyway in general. But I can't deny that the performances of late against the likes of Palace and Ipswich were definitely very worrying, and they were concerning, and definitely a red flag about, are this team really fully buying into what Ange is doing? There were question marks there. But I also think before the City game, if you take the season as a whole, you are probably just talking about 2.5 bad games out of the first 10 games. But I think majority, we actually had been playing quite well, and people forget that because of how bad the recent results had been. And now that we've gotten this performance away at such a big team against a team like Man City, to be capable of performance like that definitely shows me of the ceiling of this team and what they can really achieve and what they're capable of, because it's not easy. Well, I think it's evident that we've barely had a win like that in our lifetimes. So even regardless of the situations, City's injuries and whatever, under every circumstance, we've gone away to big teams and not put in results like that ever. So that goes to show that to get to that kind of level where you can put in a result and get a performance like that and get a result like that, shows to me that this is a team worth buying into, and this is a team that has a lot of potential and a lot of quality in it. And it was something, again, Rick, we were discussing before, last week, or was it last week or 2 weeks ago? We were questioning the quality of this team, weren't we? We were questioning whether because we know, in the window, could we have done enough? Could we have done all this kind of stuff? And, we only bought youngsters and all this kind of stuff. We were questioning the quality of the team. After a performance like that, are those questions still there about the quality, regardless of the consistency?
Well, we know we've got a fairly good squad. I think we made that clear. Vicario, for maybe many question around his collection of crosses, which I thought he was actually phenomenal against City on. The number of shot stops that Vicario made during that game were, again, untold to help Spurs go on and be victorious. When you look at the squad overall, Dragishin, I think it's interesting with Radu, because I have got a feeling he's a little bit different to maybe the likes of a Romero and a Van der Ven. He's a much more physical player that actually enjoys that battle. I think when you see him up against Haaland, he's actually relished that challenge. And along with Davis, seems to have, formed a really good understanding. I mean, look, I think there's this notion around Ben, around the fan base about his lack of quality. Ben has not got a lack of quality. I think he's got a lack of pace, which at times he gets outdone for. But his reading of the game has always been great. Ben's an unbelievable reader of the game. He's an intelligent guy, got a master's degree. That guy will go into be coaching. I've got no doubt one day he probably will end up back at Spurs in some form of a capacity there in that kind of level. But I think no one's ever questioned Ben's desire, application, effort, commitment. It's just been around the fact that he can be outpaced at times, but nobody can question, what he gives to Tottenham as a player. Defensively, I think there has been question marks around Porro and Udogie. I've made it clear when you are asking players to play so high up at times. And the great thing about, I think, this game was, I've got to be honest with you, I think Ange did adjust his tactics and did tweak them. I don't think we were as high up. I think we did back 15, 20 yards. And that meant, with no disrespect, you wasn't having Porro and Udogie being caught on the halfway line with the ball. It meant Davis and Dragoshin could defend that bit deeper. And it just showed maybe that Ange does have a different way of playing, which, to be fair, he's shown a couple of times against Man City. I think, there's no harm, I've said, in deploying what he wants to play in terms of that brand of football, of having the high line there. But it's about who you pick and choose your opponents to play it against. In terms of your question around the squad quality, I think we've got a fairly decent squad. Can it be improved? Absolutely. I think Maka touched on it there. We're going in a situation up to January now with Odebear. In Ange's words, is going to miss a fair chunk of the season. Richarlison, with all due respect, we just can't keep him fit, despite giving him longer to recover in terms of rehab. And I think, I look at us, in forward areas, we've got decent players. I think, look, for Timo Werner, this is not to do Werner down. He done unbelievable when he came on that burlesque run to set up Johnson for the fourth goal. Spurs fans know where we need to improve, with no disrespect. This is why I say to you, it was a great result, Sim, but we've got to see this more consistently. I think when you're seeing, again, this is not to be negative, we're up until now nearly end of November. We've not seen Archie Gray or Lucas Bergvall start a Premier League game. If Ange Postecoglou really trusted, really believed these players would be playing in terms of the Premier League, we've already seen them to date. So we can improve the squad, no doubt. We want to improve the squad. The key thing you need to bear in mind is that Daniel Levy has made it abundantly clear in that fans forum that he gave that the club are looking right now for investment. And his words were, we're looking for investment to enhance both the women and the men's first team. Now, to me, when someone's coming out and saying that, they're making it very clear that I don't think there'll be a huge amount of money to play with in January. Andrew was actually asked the question before his pre-match presser against City. And he said then again and reiterated the point that January really isn't an easy business to do your market. I've got to be honest with you. I mean, last January, I think we brought in Werner, didn't we? We brought in Werner.
And Dragoshin.
There were two players that maybe we needed at the time. I'm not too sure if Spurs are going to do much business this January. I want them to. Because, again, you're looking at the squad right now and you look at the league right now, everybody's up and down, up and down. And the thing is, if Tottenham can find that consistency, I mean, it's not in the top four you're looking at. Can they go even higher than that? And people might think I'm crazy by saying that, but it's such an inconsistent league that really you don't know what the team is capable of. But until we see, if I'll be honest with you, Sim, as I've said to you numerous times now, that level of consistency over the course of a season and obviously players giving that effort, commitment, desire. We saw against City in the games, disrespect, Maka mentioned, the Ipswiches, the Brightons, the Palace. We're going to really see what this Tottenham team's about. But Lee goes back to that point there. We can't just see it for City. We've got to see it every game. It's all very well bringing your A game for, the bigger games. But we need to see this week in, week out. And that's, I do, maybe I've said at times that's on Ange. It is on Ange, but it's also on the players. I said this to you last week. I don't put this all at the fault of one person when it comes to Tottenham.
But this is just to interact with you there, Rick. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I agree with everything you're saying, and Sim. But this is indicative of rebuilding. People don't want the rebuild. People don't want the project word. Lee, stop saying it. They say, yeah, but Lee, I'm sick of being patient. But this is the patience of rebuilding from a young side, the inconsistencies. I do some statistics, right, looking back. Now, Man City are the juggernaut. They are the best. There's absolutely no doubt about it. You can have a look at their last 5 games. They've lost 5 in a row. That hasn't happened. 3 Premier League games in a row, etc. Pep's second season, Pep's second season. It's the same as Ange's second season, right? Now, you could also argue at this point that they had miles more money and more investment and Fabinho's of this world, and they'd already won the title and all this sort of stuff way before, like nothing that Spurs have had. But Pep's second season, he lost to Tottenham away. So you'd imagine that they would be annoyed with that, losing to Spurs, but we were good at the time. This is 16-17 season, by the way, when we finished second. I'm just going to throw some results at it. Just put this into context, right? Man City at home to Everton, 1-1. Man City at home to Southampton, 1-1. Yeah, they lost away at home to Chelsea. They lost away to Leicester, 4-2. Yeah, they lost to Everton, 4-0. The point I'm making, team, and everybody watching and listening, if I haven't switched off while I'm talking, is everybody goes through this. This is not an Ange thing or a Spurs thing. This is a moving. If you look at it holistically, like you would and say, right, year two, most Premier League clubs go through this. This is Pep, who is the best manager on the planet. And even he lost 4-0 to Everton. Even he lost to the likes of Spurs at the time, Leicester at the time, to get in draws with the likes of Middlesbrough. I mean, come on, man. Middlesbrough 2-2. This is the 30th of April, 2017, and he drew 2-2 to Middlesbrough. Now, can you just put that into Spurs context? Imagine if that was Spurs, which we can imagine because it happens to us all the time. We'd be going mad. But this is the point. Maybe Man City fans were going mad. But you see the point I'm making here, team? Because I don't think people think like that. They think like, oh, it's a Spurs thing. It's not. It's a year two in a project thing. Yeah, and that's what happened. That's why I'm not telling you how to feel, but you have to feel to a certain degree. I am telling you, you have to feel positive for that, because that level of consistency only comes from when you start to realise that the mistakes you're making. In the Poch era and in the Pep era, in the Klopp era, in the Ange era, you lose to Stokes and West Broms and Palaces when they're down at the bottom, and Ipswich's, and it's infuriating. But it happens to everyone. It's not just a Spursy thing, as Jason always says. It's not a Tottenham thing. It happens to everybody. Does that make sense, lads?
Yeah, it does. Go on, Rick.
No, it makes total sense what Mac is saying there. I think, what we do, though, see is, with Mac mentions there as well, is that there's that period where they do have that inconsistency roller coaster up and down. But eventually what happens, I'm sure Mac will agree here, it starts to straighten out.
Then they get it right. And they get it right. And that's the point. Yeah, so I totally agree with you. And that's the difference between winning and losing. At this level, we always talk about fine margins, but that's the difference between winning and losing. that season, they actually finished behind us, obviously. They finished third. We were 8 points in front of them that season. But then the season after that, I mean, they win the title.
Yeah.
They win the title.
The key thing, though, like you say, is that one point that Macca says about the learning of lessons there, that eventually does seep in. They become actually acclimatised and used to going through those difficult experiences. Dare I say, for Tottenham players, did it benefit us a few weeks ago? We'd say no at the time of losing to Brighton, but you can bet your bottom dollar going through that experience at Brighton most certainly helped the players when it came to half-time against City, because they know they've been there before. And I can tell you, Ange Postecoglou would go around to every single player in that dressing room before they went out for the second half, saying to them,
playing the Brighton video.
Yeah, don't you dare let this be another Brighton. So going through those experiences, as much as it killed us as fans, and you boys there being there as well, that would have no doubt, given the players the understanding they've been through it before. We can't let it happen again. The key thing I've always said, Sim, about Ange, that what I've wanted to see is lessons being learned, right? I mean, that's the thing. I've always said, I'm a man, for me, I'm happy when we win, I'm gutted when we lose, but I hold no agenda, I hold no to any manager, any player at Tottenham. I just want the best for the club. I want the best for the players. And I see nothing more that when the players are doing well and the club is doing well, I'm happy. Football's one of those things in my life. It gives me great, great happiness. It lives with me every day the same way it lives with you boys every day, with family as well. And it's an escapism that we all need. And it's a drug, isn't it, football? It's a drug that we all can't help but be addicted to. It's probably... women, wives in our lives, switch off right now that are listening. It's one of the first things you think about in the morning. It's one of the last you go to bed, because you love your football team and you want the football team to be successful. But the key thing overall, can I just say, Sim, is that what I think a lot of people want to see is lessons being learned. As long as we see lessons being learned and not the same errors being repeated week upon week upon week, fans will become more patient. Fans will become open to understanding it's going to take more time. And I think the key thing is that after that game there, you saw Ange Postecoglou go to the away fans, address them. And what a result does like that, and it's important people don't take this out of context, what I'm going to say right now, if I get clipped for it, is that does give a manager huge credit in the bank. Now, that's not me saying that Ange Postecoglou's going to be sat next week or sat next month. But what that does is it gives fans that are pretty much maybe on that scale of, are we in the right direction? Seeing a result like that away at the champions, take away City's current form, what they're going through. You know, like I said to you beforehand, Rodri was being celebrated in that stadium before kickoff. Pep's just been given a new deal. That result there gives supporters that question Ange whether he's capable tactically to change games, to tweak games. He's gone and done it at the home of the champions against arguably one of the best managers in the world, against arguably some of the best players out on the pitch, that it can be done. But now what we've got to see, as Maka spoke about, is that whilst it's up, down, we've got to see some consistency to Tottenham's play. I really need to see, for me, that horrendous stat about, you know, going behind in 13 of the 15 home games start to become eroded. We've really got to now at home start to take games and come out of the blocks firing. I think under Maurizio at the time where Spurs were flying, that was one of our greatest traits, that we would come out of the blocks and the game would be over in the first half an hour, 45 minutes. The fans would really connect with the team. And don't get me wrong, you won't get that with every home game. But what I want to see now for Fulham at the weekend, which I'm sure we'll come on to, is a Tottenham side go into that game with the same level, desire, application and effort that we saw away at the Etihad. Because if we do that, to quote Maka, we will win the game 8-9-0. Because Tottenham are unplayable when they play like the way they play. And that's the great thing about this side, that when they're playing well, everybody wants the ball, everybody's in their ascendancy. My worry, I go back to the point, again, not to be negative, but to be pragmatic and real here, is that when things are going against us and the chips are down, I need to see more players that are there in the trenches ready to get this team through it.
Yeah, I just feel like, I think you make some good points, but I feel like when you're, as Mac is saying, when you're going for a rebuild and you're looking for things to cling on to and you're looking for things to see what we're doing and believing in, I think the weekend, the City game should be a real moment for the team to realise, as much as we're up and down and results of, you know, we've lost 5 or won 5 and it's frustrating, we're losing to teams like Palace and Ipswich. When you see a performance and a result like that, that has to be a moment where you say, this is what we're capable of. This is a ceiling we can literally go to a team that's won 4 league titles in a row and not just scrape a win, not just luckily go there and get a win, but actually win 4-0, actually completely batter them and actually destroy them like we did. A team that was unbeaten at home for 52 games, we can go there and win by such a big margin. That should really give the team and the squad such belief of what can be achieved under this manager. And if they can't fully buy into what we want to do after that result, I don't know when they will, because that should be like a bit of a light bulb moment for them. And when I think about rebuilds, obviously, as Maka said, you're tearing your hair out when you got on those losses. But when you're looking at things to kind of cling on to in terms of the direction we're going, and you look at the results we're getting, what's easier to do? Fix those losses against Ipswich and Palace, or build a team that's capable of going to the Etihad and winning 4-0? What do you think is easier to do? Of course, sorry, what do you think is harder to do? It's much harder. It's much harder to build a team that's capable of winning 4-0 the Etihad than it is to fix those losses against Ipswich and Palace. And that will come. And when you look at our wins this season, we won 6 out of 12 games, all of them have been by at least a 3-goal margin. All of them have been big wins. When we've lost games, every time we've lost, it's always been by a goal. And they've all been, look, whatever we want to say about those bad losses, they've all been close games. We haven't been battered in any game. It hasn't been a washout. In each of these games, it could have been very different. Even those games against Palace and Ipswich, as much as we deserved the loss, I'm not saying we didn't. On another day, those results could be different on another day with the games that how it played out. So all our losses have been very close, and all our wins have been absolute batterings. And if you can't. I just don't buy it that can't be fixed, and that's not something that Ange notices. And those losses can easily turn into draws and wins. But can I see those wins that we're getting by 3+ goals automatically turning into draws and losses? That's going to be a bigger swing than those losses turning into draws and victories. So I think when you look at how we're performing this season, as frustrating as it is that we are on more points and that for some certain games we haven't turned up, I just think it's still such a young team. We now see exactly what this football and what this team are capable of with that win. And there's no reason not to be excited. Even if there are some more bumps in the road, there's no reason not to be excited about what this manager can do for us because, as we've said, we've never had a win like that. And I just think when you're winning by the margins that we're winning, I think it's only a matter of time before it starts to click for us. I like to think anyway. We'll go on, Maka. What are you saying?
We come back. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you both say. I mean, I think that we've won the same amount of games as Brighton, Arsenal, and Chelsea, as an example. Like I know we've lost more, but obviously that's that whole draw situation as well. You know, we're only 3 points off of third, 4 points off of City. They've lost 3 in a bounce, and they got.
This is what we're doing. It. We're back looking at the table now. We weren't looking at it last week. Now we're back looking at the table. We're 3 points off. We're 3 points.
I think that's the issue, isn't it? You know, you lose to Fulham. Fulham go above us. We end up being 10th or 11th after the weekend. We beat Fulham. We're probably third.
I know.
Chelsea played Villa. Arsenal play West Ham, which is they're under pressure. West Ham a massive game tonight against Newcastle. So you know that is part and parcel, and that's your prerogative if you want to look at the table or not. I think the reality of where we're at, and this is why I love Big Andrew's attitude because he always looks at the bigger picture, or the holistic view, which is have we improved in all the key areas? And I agree with you, like. Attack wins games and defenses win titles. But the hardest thing to do is put the ball in the back of the net. That's the hardest thing in football. So although that only might win games and not win titles, you can fix the defence relatively is more straightforward to fix the defensive aspects, which I think we proved even this year. To your point, Sim, from last year, we were getting battered 4-0s and 3-0s and whatever, and we have, touch wood, we haven't been doing that this year, so that's been fixed to a certain point. But I know we're going to come on to the attack, but actually we are putting the ball in the back of the net more often than not and battering teams in senses. I mean, we've scored 27 goals. It's by far the most in the Premier League so far. I know Newcastle, West Ham ain't played yet, but Newcastle ain't going to go and win. Well, they might actually. West Ham are shocking, but Newcastle ain't going to score 10 goals, are they, tonight or whatever, 14 goals. So we're going to end match day, match week 12, top scores in the Premier League by a fair few as well. I think it's by 3 over Liverpool. So the putting the ball in the back of the net scenario, if we can continue to do that, I agree with you, Sim. I don't think, a 1-0 loss to Palace or a 1-goal loss swing to Ipswich is easier fixable than going to your, I suppose, main rivals in the top 6 away from home and battering them. And we smashed United 3-0, and we've smashed Villa at home 4. We smashed West Ham 4. We smashed Everton 4. We just smashed City 4. This is, dare I say this, I'm on all my days. What am I saying here? This is City type form. Even Liverpool, they're top of the league. They're smashing it. In the wins, yeah. In the wins, yeah. So, again, it's an exciting thing. I can't tell you how many Spurs fans I've spoken to on Last One on Spurs, on this show, Sim, in the stadium, in and around the crowd, that said to me, I just want to see attacking football. Well, it's here. Absolutely here. And when you look at it, we've got the joint third best defensive record so far in the Premier League. So this Vicario flapping and own goals, and we're shocking. All of that has seen an improvement. So it's it's going in the right direction. The train has got a lot of coal in it. We're shoveling that coal in, and the train is going fast. But there's a few bends that we're going to have to get round without coming off the rails, and hopefully that will be the case. We've got Fulham at the weekend. At home, and our home record until Ipswich was actually relatively good. But you now got a doubt in your mind, haven't you? Because it's after a Europa League match, and every time we played after a Europa League match, we haven't been very good. And again, I'll just quickly say, that is not an Ange thing, because this happened for time and time and time again in the previous regimes. Under Conte, under Poch, you go and have a look at the statistics. Time and time again, it happened. We'd play on a Thursday, and on a Sunday, we wouldn't turn up. I bet you, in that Poch second season, half of them defeats to West Broms or the draws to Stokes and whatever come after a Europa League match. I haven't done the stat, and I'm not going to.
This is why Conte wanted to get us out of the Europa Conference League, because he wanted us to qualify, because he knew what Europe would do. He kept saying,
work out. How'd that work out for him? Again, under the Conte era, we're 3-2 up at Southampton with what 2 minutes to go.
3-1 up.
Yeah, well, 3-2 up at 2 minutes to go. They equalise. If they don't equalise in that 90 seconds, we're third, and that rant doesn't happen. You know, again, is that sliding doors moment? Is that change? Again, this is why I keep using the words bottle it with the board, because if the board bottle it with Ange, we're back to square one again. And this is what, the board didn't bottle it with Pep. The board didn't bottle it with Klopp. The board hadn't bottled it with Arteta. This is after season 2. So hold your nerve, board, and keep going, because we are definitely on the right track to something. Are we going to win the title? No, I don't think we're going to win the title this year.
What's really important, Maka was saying about those other managers there, but what all those other managers did have in seasons 2, 3, and 4, they got a huge significant money of investment coming in. And I think what needs to be made apparent is that those managers actually got the players that they wanted. Liverpool got Van Dijk. Liverpool got Alisson. Fast forward to Arteta in his recent seasons, he got Declan Rice. City, as we know with Pep, he got the players he wanted. And the key thing is, as Maka says there, look, if Tottenham are going to really, really back Ange Postecoglou, and I mean, it's all the greatest of respect in the world, because he's alluded to this in his press conferences, that whilst he's happy working with young players, and again, they've got amazing potential, what you are also going to need is players with experience, with maturity, that are going to affect games for now. And I think that's really, really important that we bring that up. Ange is working with, just no disrespect when I say this, probably some of the players that weren't maybe top of his list. I think it's really hard that you're seeing a manager, and I've seen this before with Tottenham, that to some degree they're hamstrung by what they're given as opposed to what they need. And that's how that we've seen other managers at Tottenham during Mourinho and Conte's time, that the toolbox they're given to do the job is actually not up to the task to actually create or fix the problems they need to. So what I like about Ange as a person is that he's very much adaptable to working with squads that he's been given. Many would argue he's a bit of a yes. Is he a bit of a yes man in terms of not biting back on that? We'll see. We'll see in terms of future windows, because there's only so much somebody can do to get a club to somewhere. But again, what I've said and maintained all along there, Maka saying his points there, is that what we need to see is, again, that level of consistency. And you know what? It's a really good opportunity, Maka says there, about Europe. Go and prove a point this weekend. Go and break that cycle with regards to us struggling with the Europa League.
I agree with that.
Over on a Thursday.
Can we go to Roma, and then go and smash Fulham? Yeah. And have a week where you've just done City, Roma, and Fulham. And actually, when I say smash, I don't care. Go and win 1-0.
No, go and win the games. Psychologically, 3 wins on the bounce would be massive.
Yeah.
I want to talk about what Maka was saying in terms of the goal scored. It's a good segue to our next one of our other topics. And as Maka said, we're now on 27 league goals this season, which is now top of the league. In fact, Liverpool the nearest with 24, so they're 3 behind in terms of goals scored. And after 12 games, I would say that is fairly significant when it comes to how many goals we are scoring at the moment. And you ask a lot of Tottenham fans, you probably ask most Tottenham fans, where's our biggest need for improvement in terms of quality, and where are we not strong enough? I reckon most Tottenham fans would say the attack, and it's the front three that needs the biggest improvement, and we don't have enough quality there, and that's what we probably neglected in the summer. We didn't improve on the quality in the front three, but we are sitting here after 12 games 3 goals clear of anyone else in terms of goals scored. So Ricky, the question is, I guess, do we underrate our own attacking players? When we're scoring that amount of goals, what if our attack is that bad, or if that attack is the one that needs so much improvement? Why are we sitting here being the league's top goal scorers after 12 games by a fairly significant margin?
Well, it's interesting you asked that. I think what's also key is, I think at the moment, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Sim, you're the stats man here, as is Maka. I think James Maddison's currently our highest leading scorer at the moment. I think he currently tops the goal scoring chart for Tottenham with 5. So that's not a bad thing, don't get me wrong. I mean, what the great thing has been this season is that there's been goals spread across the team. That's one of the things that, if you remember, under the Harry Kane era at Tottenham, we didn't always do that. We were heavily reliant on Harry Kane's goals. It was always to him we'd turn to get us back into game to win games. So I think what's really important is this season we have seen a spread of goals across the team. it's magnificent that we're leading the goal scoring charts. But I think what you need to bear in mind is, and it's a great thing as well to say this, the way Ange wants to play his football, because it is so high intense, high octane football, we do create a lot of chances. So it does mean you're going to get a lot of goals. And we made that point when Harry was before leaving the club, saying how many goals would Harry Kane get in an Ange Postecoglou team, because they create so many chances. I think what I do want to say on our forward line, and look, you can always improve it. You can always improve it. I think we're all disappointed in the summer. We know the club had Eze in that stadium 3 or 4 times last season, a base soccer agent, of course, he was there. Struggle to understand why Spurs didn't get that deal done. I think the player was keen to come. Again, it might come down to wages, about paying a fee up front. Pedro Neto, it's been widely reported, the great Paul O'Keefe said it. Paul said, Spurs put in a bid for Neto. They tried to include Oliver Skip as part of that package. Wolves wanted straight cash. What happened? Chelsea got a sniff of the deal. Chelsea went off with the money and they got the deal done. I'm not sitting here trying to, blaming Tottenham. The reality is that if you want a player, you just got to go out and get them and get it done. And what Tottenham did is they did that with Dominic Solanke. They went and got Dominic Solanke in the team. I think Dominic's done really well for Tottenham. I think his build-up play has been really impressive. I see a lot more than just goals to Dom's game. I think he helps us so much in terms of bringing in those forwards into play. I think he holds up the ball ever so well. Yes, he's a different striker to Harry Kane. It's hard for Dom. He's following the greatest ever striker for us of the club's modern era. But I like what Dominic Solanke's offered so far. I think if I can just say on Brennan Johnson, who seems to get a lot of stick still from the Spurs fan base, that Brennan's criticised sometimes for not scoring big goals in big games. Well, he scored against United, he scored against City, he scored against Villa. That's been one of the criticisms, that he hasn't scored enough in big games. He's getting big game goals now, Brennan. And yes, you could argue it's the 4th goal or, against City at the weekend. But at the reality point, you've got to say, players are improving. But I'd be lying if I said to you, Sim, that I'm not concerned about the lack of depth we've got in the forward line. I think probably the club would like to send Timo Werner back to Leipzig. It's whether Leipzig will take him back and can find a home for him somewhere else. I think that'll be one of the areas that I'd love to see Spurs go in January and invest. But the reality is, as we know now, because of what it would cost us quality-wise to upgrade that front line, you're probably going to have to pay the likes of a 60, 70 million kind of signing to do that. But again, we have got Yang Min Hook coming in. I think he's coming and arriving in December. We'll see how he settles. Maybe he'll surprise us. It's not all about spending money. And I rattle off price tags there because I think the players Tottenham need are now of that elite level where ultimately you're going to have to spend the money. But at the same time, I haven't got too much disregard about the forwards. Players are helping each other at the moment. It's been a real spreading across the goals from the whole team. And Dom's worked so hard that I don't look at Dominic Solanke, for example, and judge him just based on his goal score. I judge him overall on what he's bringing to the team. I mean, Decky, for example. Decky now is coming as a number 10. And, he's almost had a new position created for him there. And we're having to sometimes play James in that as well. So to answer the question, we can always improve our forward line. Do I think we will? I don't think that will be the problem. I don't think that will be the main area we look to focus on. I think Spurs, I would like to think we'll look at that number 6 role being still a position they need to address, unless we do see a real consistency between now and then of the window opening with regards to Gray, Basuma, Bergvall, Bentancur, please God, when he gets back, which I think is end of December. So there'll be work to do, but overall with the forward line, we can improve, but happy with what I see at the moment.
What do you think, Macca? I think a lot of people have been complaining for, especially after, defeats about our forward line being bang average and not good enough and Brennan not being good enough and all these different things. But we are, as I said, sitting here after 12 games, 3 goals clear of anyone else in the league when it comes to goals scored. So for you, is this, I guess depending on what you want to achieve this season, but is this forward line good enough? Do we have enough quality in the forward line? Is it underestimated? Because a lot of people saying, we've got the worst front 3 in the top 6. When you compare it to our rivals, it's not good enough. But where do you stand on how good our front 3 are, or our forward options, I should say?
Well, I don't think the stats bear that last statement out. So I'd like to see a survey of what people think of our front 3. Maybe we'll put that on our Twitter accounts because we've got quite a broad range there. I've just done some statistics. The Blue Book is out in force today. When you look at, when you look at kind of, what is the key point, what is the kind of a benchmark at this point? So 12 games in on average for Man City over the last 5 years, not including this year, but the previous 5 years, they've scored on average 34 goals by this point. So that we're 7 goals behind an average City. Now, you've got to put into context. Again, this is what you've got to put into context. One of them seasons, they scored 40 goals by this point, and that was the season they wanted to win, get 100 points. It was a 17-18 season. They scored 106 goals, which hasn't been done since. It was a record, and they've never ever done it. And we you know, when you look at it on average, we're 7 goals behind the juggernaut, which is City. So against him, I think the statistics are bearing that we're in a good position. When you look at the I don't want to bring up winning the league because Rick will kill me, but when you look at the teams that are up there in the top 3, let's just say the top 3, on average, it's around 28, 30, 32 in that order of teams that are winning that league, that are scoring this amount of goals during this period. Now, we might go on a run where we don't score for 6 games and this conversation becomes completely irrelevant. But if you continue on that trajectory and you can get these, the forwards still firing, I think, again, we can make a brilliant point about Solanke. I love him as well. I think we all do. I don't think there's a bad word to say about him. If there's something you could improve on, is his goal ratios, and that will come in this team. So all of a sudden, you've got to look forward to that. This is what I'm saying. Don't look backwards. Use statistics to benchmark, but look forward. Do you think Solanke in this team is going to score 15 plus Premier League goals? My answer would be yes. So you're going to get more goals out of Solanke if, it is a big if, we can keep the likes of Richarlison back fit. Will he get? He proved last season that he can get 8-9 goals in a big spell. Can we get that out of him again? Can we continue Brennan Johnson? Can we get Odegaard fit? Is he going to be able to have some goal contributions as well? And then Sonny as well. I mean, by his highest standards, and this is only his high standards, he's going through one of them periods at the moment where people are saying he's lost his legs, get rid of him, he's too old, which basically means around the corner he's about to score in every single game for the next 9. Which is that's what Sonny does, right? Are you with me, Sim?
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
When you look at that, the underlying statistics bear fruit, and actually it's really good stuff to look forward to. You know that Sonny will score 15 Premier League goals. You know it's happening. Like you're delusional if you don't think that's going to happen. You know that Solanke has the ability to go and do that in this team. You know now Brennan. Even the Brennan doubters must be thinking, well, hang on a minute, this bloke's going to score at least, well, he's going to get 10 Premier League goals, isn't he? Because he's already got 8. So, sorry, he's got 8 in all competitions, right?
8 all comps, yeah.
Yeah, 8 in all comps. So, he's going to get, Maddison now. You must be fancying Maddison. For how many games have you played? 12. So we've got 26 games left. You've got to be fancying Maddison to score at least another 5. Mm-hmm. Like I'm really being kind of like trying to play it down as much as possible. 5 in the
next. That's massively put it down for you.
I know. So he's gonna. That's what I mean. So you've got to be looking at him now and thinking, well, he's got to score at least another 5. So he's going to be on double figures. So I think, and Kulu as well. The form that he is showing, Decky, is off the chart. He ain't got enough goals yet. Like in my opinion. So I think there's a massive improvement from a goal return for Decky, a massive improvement with a goal return from Dominic Solanke, a massive goal return improvement for Son, which it'll come because he's proven it. So I think that we're moving in that right direction against him. I think that, is the attack underrated? I'm not sure it's underrated because of what Rick said, we're sharing the goals around. I do find it hilarious. I literally laugh out loud every time Sky and these mainstream medias put these statistics up. They're really proud of the fact that Haaland has 57% of all City goals. They're really proud of the fact that Salah has 56% of all Liverpool goals. But when it was Harry Kane, it was the Harry Kane team. It was a one-man team. It is terrible. So it's really interesting how. And again, credit to Ange. I'm going to big up Ange again here. Big up to the big Ange, because he lost Harry Kane on the eve of the Brentford game, and we've still scored the amount of goals that we've scored without the best number 9 in the world. And I've said it forever. And as Rick just alluded to, if he was in this team, we wouldn't get the Dominic Solanke press, but we would get the Harry Kane goals, and we'd probably be on 35, 40 goals by this point. Because he would definitely score more goals than what we have. So I think it's, again, going in the right direction. I'm not sure it's an underrated attack. I just think it's not a very sexy attack. When we have the likes of Bale and we had the likes of Son and we had the likes of Kane. That was just pure. I mean, as a Tottenham fan, you're like, oh my God, this is so sexy. You know, is Brennan Johnson, a Son, and a Dominic Solanke as sexy? Probably not. Are they the big names that people wanted? Probably not. Did they cost? Did they have a high level of investment? Absolutely. I mean, Dom and Johnson was 100 million plus, 110 million between the two of them. So it's not small money, but that's why. I mean, the numbers have been putting up there, and I think it's the type of goals. I think it's the taking the game of the scruff of the neck, that kind of ability to beat a player and do it on your own. That's what I mean about that sexy thing. And Johnson isn't that. He's a get the ball down, get the back post, get in the back of the net. And his numbers are great, but he's not that kind of David Ginola, you know, Rafa van der Vaart, Dele Alli. You know, when Dele Alli scored, you just knew Dele Alli was scoring. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's hard to
feel it. You can feel it. You can feel it.
It was like, and it's no disrespect to Brennan Johnson at all. I love the bloke, but that's why maybe some fans are underwhelmed by it. But his numbers are there. Dom's numbers aren't there, to be fair, and that's the positive. That's not a negative.
But he's getting a few assists, Dom. He's got like 4 goals and 2 assists, so I think it's not bad numbers. But obviously, when you sign a striker of 60 million, you know you want him to be a pure goal scorer. We know he got 19 goals last season, but he's one of those players that you know next week he could probably get a brace, and all of a sudden his numbers look quite good. Like it can change very quickly with people like Dom Solanke.
Get a hat-trick against Bournemouth, mate. Put that in your ACCA right now. He's against Bournemouth. Don't worry about that.
If you look at all competitions for Solanke, he's got, what was that, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's got 9 goal contributions in 14 games. So, I mean, it's not bad when you put it that way.
No, it's because I see it bizarre. You know, I'm happy with Solanke. I mean, I find it bizarre. I'm saying as Macca, I'm very happy with Solanke. I'm very happy.
That's what he brings to the team. Is what he brings to the team. The goals will come, like it. They will. That 100%. Like you say,
God bless you.
I get a couple on the trot.
Yeah, I mean, in the mix, it's really important you made that point, though. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I say I've not really even been too concerned about. You know, I've not actually been sitting every week thinking, "Oh God, Dom hasn't scored," because I've seen what he's bringing to the team and how he's really bringing in other players and building up play. I've got to say, I've not been worried so far about that. You know, I've seen certain, you know, we actually had a discussion, I think, on the weekend last one on Spurs. It was mentioned about, you know, are we concerned by his frequent or infrequency of goals? But I think he brings so much to the team that I'm not too concerned. I mean, look, the thing about, this is a props to Ange, that the way he wants to play his football, we're always going to create chances. And it's in such typical Spurs way that if we were more clinical with our chances, we'd have more goals. You know, bless Timo Werner. Let's not dig him out. But, well, I'm digging him out by saying this. But how many chances has he had one-on-one this season? You know, at least 4, 5, 6. Those goals go in. It even adds more to the ratio. So,
just on that, I mean, we say this quite a lot in the group about, you know, the importance of beating big teams and all that sort of stuff. I was actually doing some workings out yesterday. You know, if we'd have lost to Man City but beaten Palace and Ipswich, would that have been better? Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe would that have been better for the results? Would that have been better for the fans at the time?
I mean, it's more points.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's my point. Sorry, that's my double phrasing there. That's my point on the points. Is that of course it would have been better on the points, but for a longer term development, would it have been better? Listen to that. It's the same with the amount of goals. It's the same with Timo Werner. All them chances that he's missed, horrendous. But if he goes and scores a 91st minute winner against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, is all forgiven. Do you see what I'm coming from? Like, again, it's a concept thing. Like, Lucas Moura, I actually think Lucas Moura was as infuriating as Timo Werner to a certain degree.
I agree. I know.
Don't get me wrong. His finishing was outstanding, right? And we now hold him in unbelievable legendary status.
You're so right, Macca. You're so right.
Semi-final, and he scored a hat-trick in Huddersfield, right? And he scored 2 against Manchester United, and he scored the header when he came on in the 2-2 draw at the Etihad. He scored some really good goals, and obviously he's an icon because of the hat-trick. But there's been loads of times where Lucas Moore's got the ball down, and you think, go on, son, and he just
Macca, can I just interrupt you on that? Do you remember that head loss against Anfield? He came on, got sent off, we lost the game. He was
So, you know, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's really tough because, you know, I'm human as well. I'm like a normal football fan, like all of us. Yeah, you know, but actually, it's so difficult sometimes to just look at it on the bigger, wider picture. When you go pound for pound, Timo Werner, and I know we're not even talking about Timo, but he's part of that attack. Timo Werner, this is way too many chances. He's not good enough. But if like he got that sit. I mean, has either of yours or the viewers and listeners opinions changed on Timo when he rifled that goal in against City?
No, because he would have missed 5 minutes later.
No, but it doesn't make the loan worth it just to get him through that cup tie.
Right.
I'll answer that sim in February if Martin won the bloody thing.
That's the most important game. So that's my point, isn't it? Is if he comes on and scores a winner in the Carabao Cup final, or whatever,
well, then it bloody is
win the trophy or whatever it is, everything else is forgotten. So I think there is a method to the madness of bringing him back, and I'm not trying to stick up for Timo Werner. I've been one of his biggest critics as well, but you can see he burned Kyle Walker. I mean, Kyle Walker, I love Walker, mate. He's my favourite ever player at Spurs, like one of my favourite players. I don't know why, he's just quality.
Macca, just say what you said in the first show. What did you say on Last One of Spurs, on Macca's first ever Last One of Spurs show, which is about 1947 now? What did you say?
Yeah. I said that we never if we sell Kyle Walker, it will be the beginning of the end, and we never replace him, and we haven't. We never replace him. Now,
it's taken how many years to get Porro?
How many years? Yeah. But so that's why I like Kyle Walker. He used to play my position. He played position I used to play as well, and my number 2. So I think he burned him, and so he has got a role to play in that attacks him moving forward. It's such a shame. Do you know what the disappointing thing is? Being a Spurs fan is using the words "it's such a shame." And it's such a shame that Richie can't get fit. It's such a shame that Odegaard's out for such a long time. It is, when we're having to talk about these. But I'd love to see Odegaard, young, fresh, talent, goes left, goes right, up and we just haven't seen him. It's the same as Manor Solomon. I mean, I see some people call him to come back because he scored 2 against freaking Swansea or whatever yesterday. Or whatever. And
2 tap-ins.
But again, I feel bad for Solomon because he got a couple of assists against Burnley, and then we never saw the bloke again because he was injured, and that's what Odegaard is. These injuries they're a nightmare actually for Spurs.
I think the hard thing though, Macca, is with that. I think this is the hard thing. Ange always said in the first season he wouldn't be surprised if we got multiple injuries in terms of hamstrings. I think I don't know if it's a problem, but what appears to be the case is that we do play at game intensity in training. I mean, many would think, Rick, are you sure about game intensity? Did you see Ipswich? Did you see Brighton in the second half? But we're led to believe they do play at game intensity in training. The problem is with that is you are going to have situations where you do get contact or non-contact injuries, and that's something I'll have to look at. I saw many.
It just doesn't knock on effect.
Yeah, Ange said in his presser that he does that because he feels like you need to be matching that intensity in training for the game. And as well, he believes that the players become more robust as that goes on as the season. And actually, if you look at his previous teams, it's a common theme that in the first season they tend to get a lot of injuries, and that seems to clear up a bit second season, albeit for us hasn't quite worked out that way. And in terms of the front line, for me, I think the whole season there's been a lot of criticism about this front line's not good enough, and there's a lack of quality in the front line. But I think Ange has built a good front line for the football that we want to play. Whatever you want to say about Brennan, he knows how to play while Ange wants him to play. He might not be the best winger in the world, but I was saying right at the beginning of the season, he's not the best player in the league, but he's an effective player. He's a very good tactical player. He gets to that far post. He's a very good back post. He's a very good finisher across the face of goal. He's very good at those low crosses across the face of goal as well to the back post. He can do that with regularity, and he's showing that this season time and time again. I think Dom Solanke's been a phenomenal signing with what he can offer with his hold-up play and all that kind of stuff. Sonny, whatever people want to say about Sonny, he's got 7 goal contributions this season in 9 starts because he's been injured, and he's still providing a threat off the left wing. If you look at our first choice front three, you could make a very good argument 2 of them get in the Arsenal team, in the Arsenal front line, and people say that they're title challengers. Also, I think when people talk about our attack, I think a lot of people do neglect to add in Maddison and Decky in there because they are goal threats, and they are people who do get into the final third and get goals and assists with regularity. And also, how many teams in the league have 2 players in 2 midfield options like Decky and Maddison who provide such unbelievable attacking threat in their squad? Even the best, you look at Man City, they've got De Bruyne, but how many other midfielders do they have that both provide such goal threat like Maddison and Decky? Arsenal have Odegaard, but do they have a second one? I don't think so. Like Liverpool don't really have that kind of goal threat for midfield like we do with Maddison and Decky. Chelsea have Palmer, fair enough. Palmer probably provides for goal threat probably with Maddison and Decky combined, but like still, it's only one player. Like not many teams in the league have two quality number 10s in their squad like we do with Decky and Maddison, and that doesn't get taken into consideration, I don't think. Go on, Macca.
No, I was going to say, yeah, it's a really interesting point. Just to flip that, I know it's about attack, but when you look at the loss of Rodri in Man City, I know it's defensive midfield, like number 6. Your point you're making is how many teams have quality, double quality in one position. Well, Manchester City, this is the juggernaut that is City. They haven't got a Ballon d'Or winner replacement for the winner of the Ballon d'Or, and this is Man City, and they have been struggling. Right? There's no doubt about it. They have absolutely been struggling. And by the way, they've conceded 4 more goals. Really nice one. That was us, but they've conceded 4 more goals than what we have all season. So when you make the points about the attack, and maybe you're right. Maybe it is a little bit underrated, but Ange has always been clear, and this is why I do take it up when people criticise him, because he's always been clear from the day he walked through the iron gates at White Hart Lane, the Bill Nick gates at White Hart Lane, so to speak. When he walked through Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, he's always been clear to say, I need to improve the attack. I need to improve it. He said that time and time again. Now, how many teams in the Premier League have got 2 £60 million strikers that work with them? And I know Erling Haaland, if you sell him in the open market, it would be way more than that. But they actually purchased him for like 57 million. He's actually cheaper. Couldn't make this up, could you? He was actually cheaper than Dominic Solanke. So if you look at that, if you look at Darwin Núñez as a number 9. They scored 3 goals yesterday. He wasn't on the score sheet. I'm not even sure he even played. He was 85 million. When you look at Chelsea, they haven't even got a proper recognised striker. They've got that Nicholas Jackson. He's been scoring goals, to be fair to him. But when you look at Arsenal, have they got an actual recognised number 9 striker type situation? We got 2. One of them never plays. He's always injured. I understand that. But the fact of the matter is, and the coaching staff, the recruitment staff, has actually brought 2 £60+ million strikers to the football club. Does that make sense? I mean, yeah, I will cover 100%. That. Then we did sell the best ever number 9, in my opinion, for 100 million. So, but that's where we are. I think, maybe our attack is underrated, Sim.
I think it is a bit underrated. I think it's got a lot more quality than people give it credit for, and I think the numbers are starting to speak for themselves as well. And I think they're also what people don't consider is when you look at last season, in terms of goals numbers, the attackers are improving them. Johnson's already got the same amount of goals he got the whole of last season. Maddison's now got 1 more goal than he did last season as well. So these attackers the attack that we did have last season, the players are maybe understanding their roles a bit more, and they are starting to improve those numbers. Let's talk about James Maddison, because again, another player, a lot of question marks about him after the Ipswich game, because he only got 5 minutes. Rumours of a falling out with Ange and all these different things floating around during the international break. It was definitely a long international break, wasn't it, when it comes to rumours about the players and Ange and all these different reports and whatnot. Obviously, he gets put in the team straight after in that game against City, gets a brace, has a big hug with Ange on camera after the game as well. Reports now coming out from The Athletic that Maddison, obviously because he stayed home, wasn't on international duty, had a lot of one-on-one time with Ange on the training ground, and they worked a lot with Maddison during the international break, and obviously seemed to work wonders after what happened with him during the game against City with that brace and a brilliant performance in a big game. So I guess we'll go to Macca first for obviously James Maddison. Actually, when you look at the stats, as you say, he's got 5 goals, 3 assists, which actually makes him our highest goal contributor in the Premier League this season. So did that performance for you against Man City silence a lot of his critics? And for you, has he been as poor this season as people have been suggesting?
I think it did silence some of the critics. I mean, you're always going to get some critics that are always critical, especially on social media, as we all know. But no, I think it did, and I think that when we're talking about stats quite a lot, but the eye test, as Crackers always says on Last One on Spurs, is always there to be. I mean, I thought it was absolutely sensational yesterday, running in behind, picking the ball up, finding them pockets of space that he was doing so often in the first kind of 10, 12 games before he got injured, last season. Defensive work as well. It just seemed like he'd had a kick up the backside with the previous being left out, and that worked. And I think that's maybe where the hug come from, as you just referenced. He even said it in his post-match interview, is that sometimes it's look, I always say this. I say this to all the people that I coach, the businesses, the people in my team. It's up to you. You choose how you're going to be today. You choose how you're going to be tomorrow. You choose if you're going to put it in, if you're not going to put it in. It's up to you. And it feels like Maddison went, do you know what? It is up to me. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to work really hard during the international break. I think a lot of people forget that being left out of the international squad over the summer, that would have hurt him. I don't think he's actually come back and been playing badly. I mean, previously to yesterday, obviously got 2 goals yesterday. So that gives him 3 goals and 5 assists. He already had 5 assists before yesterday. Mm-hmm. So, that was our top goal scorer and assist provider as well. Stats don't lie, and I think that with a couple of performances, like iffy performances, he's one of the players that you look at to lead the team, isn't he? Because he's part of the leadership team. He's an experienced player. He's 28 years old now. Happy birthday, Matters, for yesterday, of course, or the day before, whenever it was. Sorry, he's one of these players that you look for to do the business. And when he doesn't do the business, he's also one of these players that you look for to say, well, hang on, bud, why aren't you doing the business? Right? You're meant to be doing the business. So he has to carry that weight of responsibility, the likes of Son, the likes of Romero, Vicario now. It's not just about being in the leadership group. This bloke's won FA Cup. He's been the main man at Leicester. He now needs to come in and step up to Tottenham Hotspur. No disrespect, he needed to be the main man. So when things aren't going well against the likes of Palace, against the likes of Ipswich, we're looking at the likes of Maddison to go, come on, then, fella, lead, take the game by the scruff from the neck, go and do what he did versus City, because he was amazing, absolute magician, as was Decky. So I think, again, it's a positive thing, Sim. It's really encouraging if we're thinking, oh, he's not playing so well. I think Ange even said that he hasn't reached the ceiling at all, and there's more for him to give. And that's why I'm ever not optimist, but when you look at things going in the right direction, all you can see is, wow, okay, this could be better, this could be better. And I think Maddison can be even better than what we saw the other day. But if anything, that is the level that we need to see him at every single game. And maybe he's got it now psychologically that his ankle's not going to roll, that he's fully fit. And if he plays like that every week, he'd be back in England squad, it'd take care of itself, and he'd be doing, dare I say it, 15 goals and 12 assists, or 15 assists and 12 goals or whatever, and he'd be back at Leicester levels. And that's what we need from him.
Well, what do you think, Rick? Because obviously Maddison did come out of the team last few games. And, there is a question mark about playing him and Decky in the middle, in some games especially. We haven't seen it since, I think, the Palace game. We haven't seen that duo. But Decky played out wide on the weekend, and that's not something we want to see from him too much. As much as he played well, don't get me wrong, and he had a great performance, we do want to see Decky back in the centre. So what do you think the rest of the season maybe has in store for Maddison? Are we going to see him play with Decky in the centre maybe a few more times, or are we going to see Decky a bit more out wide now? And for you, is Maddison now for the next game definitely undroppable?
I just think you have to take it on a game-by-game basis. I mean, that's a great thing, that we can see now of Ange, that, he kept... I mean, Ange, the biggest thing he's been labelled on, I think, so far during his tenure at Spurs, he's just been told he's just got only one way of playing, or got only one way of, doing things. I mean, the key thing is that he's shown now, twice this season against City, albeit, that he's happy to change things up. He's happy to drop the high line back a bit. He's happy to, bring players into different positions. I think you see it one fit the opposition, Sim. I don't think it's just a case you look at it game by game. It's based on who we're going to be playing. So what it does show is that the manager is open to playing that way again. I think sometimes what some managers can be is quite scared off by, fielding a selection doesn't work one week and then suddenly they think, oh, we can't work it at all. The great thing is that, we had that bad defeat at Palace. They're both in the team. And just recognise that going to City with both Maddison and Kulusevski in the side is going to help us. And therefore, used it to our advantage. That's the great thing. I think, this is why I do say this is learnings that we need to see. And that will be probably what I want to end on for me, is that what we all want to see is progression. We want to see things moving forward. We want to see us getting better. The key thing is what we are seeing, which is really important, is lessons being learned in games. And I'll just want to end it on that point. 2-way away at Brighton, a game which we look very, very comfortable in, let's be honest about it. We all want to see Spurs go in that second half and take the game to Brighton and kill them off. Never happened. And unfortunately, the opposite happened. With regards to this game against City, that would have been in the boys' heads, as I said, halfway through this show. Do not let that happen again. What I want to see now ahead of this big week for Tottenham, go and beat Roma on Thursday. Go and now follow up against a win with Fulham on Sunday. Let's break that Europa League cycle of, as Maka said earlier, that issue we've had throughout the season of coming off the back of Europa League game, having a hangover where half the team haven't played, and we don't follow it up on the Sunday. We've got to see that, and it's, like I say, been a great weekend. Let's make it a great week.
I know I've got a bounce. Just quickly, I've got a bouncer, but I'm going to open up another can of worms for you guys to talk about. But that Roma game, we'll go win the Roma game.
It's not an easy game.
We were going to rotate, because now with the whole Galatasaray thing, the loss with Galatasaray, we kind of need to beat Roma. And now if we ain't got no defenders, we've got no centre backs.
Well, luckily, we're not luckily, but we obviously rested. We obviously didn't start Johnson and Werner on the weekend, so hopefully those two can come in. When it comes to defence, Dragic and Davis are just going to have to play. There's nothing we can do, and then you're going to have to somehow probably rest Porro, put Gray in, and Bentancur can play. Yep.
Okay, so he'll be in, won't he?
Bergvall can come in. So I think there are some options. Look, there are some players who are going to have to play both games. That's the reality. We're just going to have to live with that. Some players are. I want to just read one more stat about Maddison. 8 goal contributions so far this season in 750 minutes, which means in the Premier League he's got a goal contribution every 96 minutes, which is just above one a game. So what? So is the narrative that he's having a poor season not unfair?
Yeah, so what do we do? He's been good overall, Maddison. He's been good overall. I think what Maddison's added in a couple of games is like the club. It's been inconsistent at times, but Maddison overall has been fairly decent. Yeah, it's been fairly decent.
I've got a bounce, lad. I'm really sorry. I leave it up to you to fill up. Thank you so much.
We'll end it there. Okay, I just want to ask you one more question. Was that win our best ever Premier League win? Can you think of a better Premier League win than that?
No, it was.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Go on. I think beating Arsenal in certain aspects is better than that. To be fair, that 3-2 Kabul is the only time we've beat Arsenal at the Emirates. So I'd say and we were 2-0 down and we won 3-2 in the last couple of minutes. So from a feeling perspective, I think probably that Arsenal game. But I think from a maybe a complete performance, and I know they had chances, and Vicario was a 10, as you and Ben had yesterday on your show. So you could argue, well, we gave away too many chances, but the fact is we kept a clean sheet at the Etihad, scored 4, and we were complete. It's definitely up there, but probably not the best one for me.
Go on, what would you reckon, Rick?
I think I probably agree with Mako. For feeling, definitely I'd say the Arsenal away game, because that being 2-0 down at that venue, and then we know how much we struggled there, was incredible. So in shortness, listen, we do agree. I'll go with Maka on that. I agree with him. I do agree.
I think when it comes to to quality, when it comes to actual like the quality of team and all that, and the manner of the win, it probably is in terms of performance-wise. Was that best? It was okay. Put it this way: was that our best ever performance in the Premier League, and especially the away game?
Yes.
I think it must be, which is mad to think about, because even in the great Poch teams, we never went away to big sides and won big like that. We had a few wins and a few good results, but our away record against big six teams, COVID doesn't count. I never count COVID. Under Ollie.
Non-COVID results, yes.
Non-COVID, with the fans in the stadium. I think also this was better than that result, because this is a 4-time Premier League winner, Man City. I can't think of a better performance. And that's mad to think about because that great Poch team had a terrible record away at the Big Six. We barely won games away at the Big Six under Poch. In my lifetime, I can't think of a result away from home against a top team and not just winning, but the manner of the win, 4-0. I know we've won a City before, but it's always been dramatic, close games, last-minute winners. But this game was 4-0 away from home. I think, for me, it probably is our best ever Premier League performance, which is mad to think about. That's what we witnessed on the weekend because, maybe because Man City, off the back of 3-4 defeats in a row, we don't think about it like that, but I think it might be. But anyway, look, guys, really appreciate your time. Unbelievable show yet again. Really, really great show from you guys.
Love it.
I love it. Brilliant weekend. Let's hope for more weeks like this. We'll see you guys soon. But look, Rick, do you want to let people know what's happening this week on Last Word on Spurs?
What's happening this week on Last One Spurs? Tuesday preview show we've got for Roma. We're then back on Thursday for the post-match show. And then we're back for Sunday against Fulham. Yeah, marriage is at risk. They always are on weeks like this when it's 3 in a week. We'll get there. We will. And we'll see you for more, Ben, in January. My wife's delighted. She can't wait.
Looking forward. Maka, always great to have you on as always, mate. Enjoy the rest of your day, people. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.